To you as well, Jim. And welcome to the Urban Fantasy Track. We are thrilled to have Jim back with us. We're also thrilled to have all of you here. How many of you have come to anything else of ours today so far? All right, thank you. We appreciate that. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a few people, or do we have one or two mics today? One? Okay. It's going to be back here. Is that where you're lining up? Okay. And we have Melinda right here with the mic, so you can start lining up after while I'm asking Jim a question. That way, not everybody's trying to maybe run over each other, and we'll see. But
3, 2, 1, go!
Anyway, again, welcome to Jim for joining us again this year. We're thrilled you're back. Thank you very much. And you can see you've got about 800 of your closest friends out here.
Yes.
So my question for you is the first lines of your books.
Mm-hmm.
Do you make an effort to make them so special, to make them something that stands out, or is it just something that kind of happens naturally?
I can't start the book until I got a good first line. It just won't go. I can have a great story idea if I don't have a good first line now. Won't use it. Gotta have a good first line.
Okay, so in other words,
yeah.
Yes, you do plan it. Okay. Well, I don't think that probably comes as a surprise to anyone, but I was kind of curious if what the process for that was. Do we have a question here? I know there are a lot of you in here, so we'll get right to those.
So I have a question. Thank you for being here. Did Matt kill himself from the shotgun, or did Matt kill himself out of debt?
Okay, I can't understand you because the speakers are aimed out there. Try and go a little bit, articulate a little so I can hear you.
Did Matt kill himself from the shotgun, or did he kill himself out of debt?
Did Matt get what from the shotgun?
Heal.
Kill himself.
Heal.
Matt killed from the shotgun, or did Matt heal him for the death?
Matt heal.
Oh! I'm not going to answer you those questions. No, Harry's personal accounting with Mab, that's between the two of them. And as far as Faye debts go, I'm not going to make any comments, and we'll see how those play out.
We're having technical issues, so here we go. Okay, that's a little better.
Man, I can hear you better like that, honestly.
All right. So was Matt born fully human, a changeling, or was she Fae originally?
Well, you'll have to ask her about that. Jeez. Guys, don't ask questions about story that's still coming. Jeez.
Okay. I'm pretty sure you're not going to answer this, but have we met Cowl by his alternate ego?
Okay, we met whose alternate ego?
Cowl.
Okay. Again, geez, guys. Don't ask me questions that I'm gonna make you pay me to answer. I mean, points for trying, points for effort. I feel you. I have DM'd many players over the years. I understand this.
So this is the burning questions panel.
Hi, I'm Travis.
Hey, Travis.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. So, back in the 30s or 40s, Coca-Cola changed the way that Santa was portrayed in their artwork.
Mm-hmm.
How does Vaderon feel about being kind of tubby now? And two,
it's annoying. Oh God. Yeah. I mean, because when you put it the way that Dresden puts it in the books, then suddenly that makes sense. Odin as Santa Claus makes sense. But then when you look at the Coca-Cola, not as much. But yeah, he can be a little. He rolls his eyes at that. But what's he gonna do? He's Santa Claus.
the other part of that question is, Harry loves Coca-Cola. Given the two convergences, does that make Coca-Cola a vassal of winter?
Oh. Honestly, I think it's more likely for winter to be a subsidiary of Coca-Cola.
That would make sense.
Hey, so we know there's a link between Vaderon, Odin, and Santa Claus. Have any other characters which are there any we've met that might have a similar link?
Are there any other secret characters that might have done other things in history that really?
It was worth a shot.
Yeah, I mean, in my head, history especially is very much intertwined with the Dresden Files supernatural world and Dresden Files universe. There's lots of other people who've done other things. You know, there were Knights of the Sword fighting in the American Revolution. There's just all kinds of stuff. The 7 Years' War in my head. Oh my God, it's such a mess. Dresden Files style, because that's when the Merlin and Ebenezer were the young hotheads that were out, you know, kicking butt. And they did it in very different ways and on different sides of the war, which neither one of them are supposed to be doing, because the White Council's got this whole thing about wizards do not do politics, because we watched what happened to Camelot and it was awful. But I don't know if I'm ever going to get to write those or not. It'd be fun. I'd love to write the story of hunting down Kemmler. That would be cool. Because it would be like 60 years long, right? Like it starts right a little bit after the end of the Civil War and goes all the way through World War I. You know, where he was out there operating. But anyway,
We would buy that.
Yeah, but that's for future stuff. You know, when I'm paying off my gambling debts or something.
Hey, so in the early days of the book, you made the big deal that Harry Dresden was the only practicing wizard in the Chicago Yellow Pages. How does he advertise now that they're no longer a thing?
Oh, he doesn't have to advertise anymore. Now he's the guy everybody knows. You know, he likes to brag about the Yellow Pages, but yeah, it's a thing.
But what about Elaine Mallory, since she stole his stick?
I'm sorry, what?
Elaine Mallory, wasn't it? She stole his stick.
She did, but she's got like a whole different sales pitch for her stuff, you know. She's much more of a life coach for extreme circumstances.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just reread Changes.
I'm sorry.
I was wondering, the red court vampires that were caught by the goblins, did they survive the curse?
Oh, you would have had to have been like in the equivalent of like a NORAD-style Cheyenne Mountain shelter to survive that, which is not an answer. Next. Hey, man.
Hello. You've mentioned in the past that you outlined the series after being told that the first book would sell.
Yes.
What's the biggest divergence we've had from that outline at the point we are in the books now?
Butters, probably.
Yeah.
Butters is probably the biggest diversion. Yeah, he was... Poker will never die! He was somebody who was just supposed to be a one-off character. You know, he was supposed to be... I was writing a particularly gruesome ME scene, and I wanted somebody there to add a little levity to it. So I created Butters. Actually, I didn't really create Butters. I stole him from the movie The Prophecy, the one with Christopher Walken. Only I dyed his hair black instead of red and made him Jewish and said, okay, go. But yeah, so Butters is the biggest diversion. I never really planned on him being a big character, and then my editor got in the way. So.
What was your inspiration behind the Cinder Spires to be the odd man out?
Well, the inspiration behind the Cinder Spires was I was driving home from a LARP on a Sunday morning. We'd killed the big bad guy about 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we were arguing over Treasure Division until 4, and by then the sun was getting light, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm not sleeping in the sleeping bag. Everybody get in the car, we're going home. I'm going to sleep in my own bed. And so I was driving home, and it was a real heavy Midwest overcast, serious thunderstorm territory that we were driving through. Except over here on the right, I was driving north, and over here on the right where the sun was coming up, it was all clear and blue. And then starting about right here in my field division, it just black clouds all the way over to there. And then a lightning storm started as this storm front was coming west towards me, and it was like this big thing on lightning legs walking towards you. And I'm like, oh, this is just awful. And I turned up 9 Inch Nails as loud as I could go. Because I was listening to Downward Spiral, nice and clanky industrial sounds. And then I raced the thunderstorm to the junction with I-70 so that I could turn east and get ahead of it. And so while I was doing that and listening to 9 Inch Nails, the first scene from the first book just kind of popped up in my head. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm doing that next. So there you go. Yeah, so sleep deprivation, running around the woods like a crazy person, driving too fast in dangerous weather. That's how I got it.
Enlightening us.
It's unwise. Be a writer, kids. Okay.
Hello. You mentioned prior that you're possibly looking to write 24 novels in total, and I was wondering if you were expecting to write them within 20 years, 30 years, 5 years, recorded and never finished. Just wondering what were your goals, short term, long term? Because we love the
There's some things I'm not going to share with you yet. The Dresden Files, I'm planning on, we're going to have 20 case books like we've had so far, and then like a big old apocalyptic trilogy at the end to finish the whole thing off. It might be 21 or 22 or 19, I don't know. I gotta get everything set up though, I'm working on that. And then the big old trilogy, and then we'll be done with it, and good. That'll be a fun story, neat. But I don't know how long it's going to take, man. I got things to do. There's like these steampunk books, and people keep wanting me to show up to conventions and things. Normally I say things like, if I wasn't here for all of you, the next one would be done by now. But at this point, I'm waiting on the editor, so. What's up, man?
So the agnostic Knight of the Cross. You obviously could have done the Protestant Knight of the Cross. You could have done the Islamic Knight of the Cross. Why agnostic?
Why not? My point is at least in the Dresden Files world and in my own personal viewpoint, people are fickle and people fail. People fall aside. You know, God doesn't need people to believe in Him. I think God believes in people and will still be around. I mean, even if you're the agnostic guy, I think God cares about you. If you are somebody, if you are, I mean, I'm fundamentally a Christian, but somebody else who's Islamic, yeah, God cares about them. The Hindus, God cares about them. You know, we can go down this list like this, but I think you see the pattern. And so for the Knights of the Cross, that's mainly what I was interested in showing. It's like, yeah, God is real, and God loves you, and cares, and sometimes sends people to kick the ass of monsters.
And we know the perfect life for that. We know.
Was that something you learned directly from the Word of Himmler, like it was a part of the book, or was it just kind of, you learned more about it by learning more necromancy?
Oh, no, Kimmler had like a recipe, how to make a black court vampire your bitch. You know, he had it. I mean, that was practically the name of the spell, you know. Dresden's like, oh yeah, I see how that works now. Yeah, I can screw you up. I mean, we do horrible things to him. You know, roll 3 dice 6, that's how many sanity points you lose. You know, that kind of thing. So.
Okay, so you have this entire room hanging on basically your every word. How on earth do you keep your ego in check when you have such a system?
Oh, that's easy. All of this stuff here happens to Famous Guy Jim. Famous Guy Jim is on the stage with you today. Famous Guy Jim can talk to people, he can make jokes, he can be charming, make eye contact, remember people's names, and generally function like a human being. Real Jim would not be in this room. Real Jim would come into the door of this room and look around and go, yeah, there's too many people here. and turn around and go. So, I mean, listen, and at the end of the day, I play D&D with myself and write it down. I eavesdrop on my imaginary friends' conversations and transcribe them. I write ridiculous wizard books. I'm not contributing much, you know? It's like, here, have a good time, get away for things for a while. That'll be $7, please. You know, that's kind of how I work. That'll be $10, please. Whatever it is. They were 7 when I started, okay?
Wish they were still.
Hey! Hi. I was wondering, which do you find more satisfying when you run across it online? Whenever people are doing theories and talking to each other, is it more fun to see somebody with a theory that's right and everybody says that they're out of their minds? Or is it more fun when somebody has a really popular theory and everybody's behind it and you know that they're dead wrong?
Man, that's a good question. That's tough. I don't know. I mean, I enjoy it when somebody's dead right and everybody's yelling at them, and I just kind of want to look at that person and go, hang in there, buddy. Just another book. What really bugs me is when I read the crack theories that just break my brain. you know, because there are such incredible crack theories on the Dresden Files flying around out there. And some of them I just kind of, I don't even want to think about them. I get a little skip in my head every time I hit the memory. It's like that's my own personal version of an agloshi right there that I've seen with my true sight of some of these crack theories. I think about them and I just, and then the other thing that disturbs me is some of the fan fiction. There is some really unlikely slash fiction of the Dresden Files. I'm going to lay that out there and leave it at that. Hi.
Hi. So it's kind of interesting to say to hear you say that you're not making an impact with your books. I'm actually a librarian through the New York State Corrections Department, and let me tell you, the men at Sing Sing love your books. They are stolen books. I don't. So I came here as.
Well, good. I'm glad I like them.
And my personal question is Mr. ever going to get his own side story?
Is Mr. going to get his own side story? I could probably write a good one now because I actually know cats now because there's enough of them. Because we have 4 cats. We have 3 Maine Coons, and then there was a little feral cat that got born under the porch. Her and her brother did. Well, her and her brother survived, and so we trapped them. And her brother socialized, so we got him out to a family where he's spoiled rotten all the time now. And he's like this Siamese-looking cat. He's gorgeous. And then his sister's a little tuxedo cat who's this big, full-grown. And so we named her Zatanna, and she didn't like people, but she bonded to our cats. And so we're like, okay, you can hang with our cats and that'll be fine. And then eventually she started going, okay, human, pet me. she kind of walks up to you and goes, "Mah!" like that. She makes, oh, I better pay attention to you before you kill me. I probably could write a good cat story now, but I mean, Mr.'s a cat, man. He's taking naps. He's an elderly cat at this point. He's just stretching out in the sun.
I love it.
Hi.
Hi.
So I was wondering, when you kind of set up, like, I don't know how to call it, the morality system in the Dresden Files, like in, other urban fantasy settings, it's like they have like laws of magic, but it's sort of like the Wizards Council came up with it and enforced it. It's like made up by people. But in your universe, it's like if you break the laws of magic, it like taints your very soul. It's kind of like inherent to the universe itself. And like some of them in other books, like monsters, like they can redeem themselves. And I know Thomas kind of has that, but like with the Red Court vampires, it's like once you're a vampire, you're just bad. So like,
well, you could potentially walk into the sun or something, but yeah.
So I guess I was wondering like why you made those choices when you're kind of setting up the world as sort of like objective morality versus kind of like.
Well, you just said it yourself. Choices. Thomas didn't choose to be born a white court vampire. He chooses what he's gonna be, and as long as you are somebody who is making choices like that, there's always a chance of redemption. You can decide, you know what, I'm going to be a better person today than I was yesterday. That's possible. All these and a bunch of these, like every single Red Court vampire chose to kill someone so they could slake their thirst. Every single Red Court vampire said to himself, you know what, I'm more thirsty than that guy needs to be alive. That's a choice. It matters in the Dresden Files.
So does that mean you could break the laws of magic and come back from that?
You could break the laws of magic and what?
Choose to redeem yourself?
The laws of magic get broken all the time. Some of them are the ones that the White Council makes, those are pretty broad. There's only some of it that's actually really going to start twisting you into a horrible something or other. But the White Council is, they're real thorough on trying to control wizards. They want to keep wizards from, blinking reality out of existence. They have some concerns, and they'd rather be more careful than less careful. That's just sort of how they roll. Yeah.
So in terms of writing advice, I hear a lot of authors talk about how they'll break pieces of themselves off and use them as bases for their characters. Is that true with Harry or any of your other characters in the Dresden Files?
That's not something I'm going to talk to you about. That's some pretty deep stuff there. That's real personal. Ultimately, everything I put in the book is me because I was the one writing it. So, I mean, that's, ultimately everything that goes in there is me. As far as pieces of my own personal self, yeah, they're all over. It has to be. You can't make art without putting yourself in it. And that's how it works. You break off a piece of your soul and you put it someplace else, and you look at people and then you show it to people, say, isn't it pretty? And they go, And you go, that's my soul, okay. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you have to. And it's terrible because you read it and you go, gee, this is really tearing me up, all this stuff about Harry's dad, stuff like that. But yeah, you kind of have to. And it's all over, and you don't even get to pick which bit of your soul or when you get to break it off. You just suddenly realize, oh, there it is in the book.
Thank you. That's actually the answer I was looking for.
Hey,
hi. All right. So when I read the 12th book, I got that speech that Harry gave to Mab about what he would do to attain power, and I'm not going to ask you to divulge what he's going to do to get more power, but I was wondering if the Dark Hollow would work in the Never Never.
Oh yeah, you can pull that off anywhere. The location is not important as far as that goes. You could do a dark, Harry could go to the Never Never and pull off a Dark Hollow if he wanted.
I was just curious because immortality is a factor there, so I wasn't sure if,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he could pull it off there. He'd have to have a bunch of people. To kill. But it came out of the book of the Big Bad Necromancer, guys. What do you want to do? They kill people.
The title kind of gives it away, doesn't it?
Okay.
Hey, man.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
So I came to your work through the Audible series, through the wonderful work of Spike, and I was wondering, when will the audiobook drop for the new book in regards to the new book release date and the audiobook release date, and will Marcus come back for?
I don't know. The audiobooks are difficult for the Dresden Files because we've got Marsters on them, and Marsters is like one of the more popular in-demand guys in Hollywood, so they kind of have to bow to his schedule as opposed to him coming to theirs. So I'll know when they tell me, and I'm not sure when that'll be. Is it warm in here, or is it just me? It's a little warm. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, as an older woman, I'm interested in McCoy, Black Stuff McCoy.
Okay.
Dresden is sexy as hell. I don't know, 20 years ago I will do him.
Okay.
All right. So, is there a way that you might write something about the old dude?
It's possible. Although if I wrote McCoy, I would go back to where he was like wrecking stuff and getting in trouble all the time, and then write that guy. He was way worse than Dresden.
That will help with my fantasies.
Yeah, I mean, Dresden's the kind of guy who, he gets into trouble and stuff, but what he really wants to do is be at home on the couch reading with his dog. That's really kind of what he wants to spend his life. McCoy was the kind of guy who would, just kind of look around after work one day and say, you want to go get in a fight? And then they would go do that. So it was much different.
I will never be able to follow that up correctly, but just curious, if Bob ever found himself online in, say, online game such as Second Life, what would he choose as his avatar?
What would he choose as what?
As his avatar, to represent him in the game.
Oh, as Bob's avatar? Yes. Just be a penis with legs. He would do what every 14-year-old boy would do, He would just pick something. He would take one of those. Yeah. Hey, man.
Hey. So, in terms of Gaius Sextus, and Johnny Marcone are described very similarly.
They are.
What was the inspiration behind that?
Marcone was always, I always wrote Marcone. The model I kind of had in my mind for him in the background was just that he was a medieval baron. By the standards of the medieval times, Marcone would have been a highly respected, competent, and just and fair medieval baron if he ran into that to Gaius Sextus, only he didn't quite live up to many of the many of them, because he was kind of a weasel. But I wanted to write him as that weasel you kind of admire a bit. It's like, yeah, you caused all this trouble, but damn, you did it with style. You know, like that. But that's why.
Thank you.
Sure. Hello.
Hello. Michael Carpenter is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction.
Thank you very much.
And you being my favorite author, I would love to know, what was your inspiration for creating such an awesome paladin of awesomeness?
From what I could tell from the fiction that was around me up to the point where I was writing Michael, there were only two kinds of Christians that appeared in fiction, and that was they were either lunatics, hypocrites, well, there was three, or happy dumb sheep, and that was the only way they were portrayed, and I was tired of that, so I thought I'd do it my way.
Thank you.
I'm glad you like it. I was gonna say thank you, but I didn't. Okay, I didn't do it for you, but I'm glad you like it. Thank you. Sure. Hi.
Hi. When you actually settle down to write and you're trying to get in the mindset, do you have a particular playlist you use, and how does that vary across the different series you write?
Oh, excellent question. I do. I used to make up a playlist for each book. Now I generally have like theme songs for characters that I keep in mind. Harry's theme song is "Gone Away" by Offspring, for example, and there's a bunch of other ones. There's a cover of Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You." That is done in minor. That is another character that I really love. And if you look for a minor version of "I Will Always Love You," I forget the name of the guy who performs it. It's amazing. But it's like the most angsty, this is definitely my RP character's story sort of song. You know, I mean, everybody can say that about their RP character. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Hey there. So Cinder Spires, you've got Albion, Aurora, and I think you said you got the Olympian Fair coming up, which is going to be like Olympus or something, I guess?
Olympia, yeah.
Okay, so how many spires are there, and can you tell us their names?
There's dozens and dozens. They're scattered all over the world. Not all of them have contact with all the others. Some of them don't contact anybody. They stay isolated. It's a whole confusing thing. But when I get to the next book is called the Olympian Affair, and essentially there is a meeting happening to try and head off the war that's coming between Albion and Aurora. So that's what the Olympian Affair will be all about. Which is really all it really is everybody is angling to try and get the best allies. You know, everybody's showing up to pick their team for dodgeball.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Oh no.
Hi.
Hi.
So, I have a super serious question.
Oh God.
Now that Butters is a Jedi, do you think we will maybe get a terrible prequel series with him?
It's probably more my speed to do a terrible follow-up trilogy. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not in favor of the new ones. If you like them, great, go have a good time. But I'm gonna go see the next Star Trek thing, I guess. I don't know. Hey man.
Hey. So you have 15 books of history to reference and
tell me about it.
How do you make a book accessible to someone who hasn't read the entire series without being weighed down by the massive weight of this character's history and that character's history and this event?
Every story has to be its own story. You know, even in the Dresden Files, the story needs to embrace the problems and the conflicts that you set up in that story. So, I mean, ideally, anybody who comes into the Dresden Files at any point should be able to pick it up and have an intelligible idea of what's going on. You know, they should be able to go, okay, yeah, I get this story. I mean, there's a bunch of parts of it I didn't get because he didn't reference it, but yeah, the story, I got it. It was good. They should be able to go along for the ride and have a good time. You know, the best way to do that is, and the best way to do that is to make sure your characters are really consistent all the way through. I mean, you have to have them grow as well, but you also have to really do a lot of hard work to keep each character grounded in terms of of what they are, so that not only is the reader sure what's going on whenever that character comes on stage, but that I know what's going on when that character comes on stage. It's like, okay, this character, I've got Butters coming on the stage now, and you know, I need a bunch, I need, you know, these 6 different things to happen to make the story go forward, and so Butters is going to handle this one and that one, and I've got to pick the right ones for Butters to handle, or else he's not really Butters, and then it gets more and more confusing as people go along. So, you know, it's partly homework, it's partly just being buried in it, and this is what I've been doing my adult life, and it's partly Priscilla. Priscilla Spencer, who's been a beta reader for me for a good long while, has a freakish knowledge of continuity, that is highly annoying and extremely useful.
Funny how those things go together sometimes, isn't it?
It is.
Thank you.
Very well.
Hello. I'm one of the people who not only read your books, but play the Dresden Files role-playing game by Evil Hat Games.
Nerd.
And I was wondering, I figured they basically read your books, then quantified the characters into NPC stats, and then let you see them. Which ones did they get right off the bat, and which ones did you say, oh, you got it all wrong because there's some stuff you didn't know, and tell them to revise?
Well, see, here's the thing.
Oh, and can you tell my GM to give me one refresh?
Okay. Here's the thing. As far as when they designed the game, Fred went and designed the Dresden Files game off of my writing process. He couldn't get it wrong. You know, I mean, when he put the game together, they used the same. He used a lot of the same writing craft stuff that I use when I'm putting stories together. As far as the stats go, I've got no idea what stats mean in Fate. I haven't played Fate. It's a Dresden Files game, and I can't play a Dresden Files game. It's ridiculous. Imagine trying to be my GM. I'm a power gaming weasel. You know? It's like, no, it is that way. I'll write it that way next book if I have to. Yeah, but if I'm the GM, it's too much like work. So I can't play the Dresden Files role-playing game. I'm like the one person who can't. So I don't know about the stats of those characters. But I mean, as far as putting the characters together, though, it looks solid to me. I worked with them for a long time. There was a whole lot of talk. Fred had some Nye Priscilla talents on his game team in putting things together. So what would happen would be they'd send me a big letter, and I'd spend about 4 hours answering the letter and talking about the cosmology and just sort of talking about the overall entire shape of the Dresden Files that you guys haven't seen yet because it hasn't come up in the story. And then they would go and they'd start playing with that. They'd come back 2 weeks later and say, okay, we have more questions. Of course you do. And then we do it again. And we did that for about 6 months. And then they put the game together and they said, what do you think? And I said, there's a bunch of stuff in here you're going to have to take out. You're going to have to take this out and this out and that out. And they're like, why? Because I haven't written